Good evening. Welcome to the Village of Pleasantville work session on September 12th. We're going to start with the discussions about the Panther Club. There's been a lot of emails and sort of chatter back and forth. Do you want to sort of maybe summarize where we are right now, and then we can open it up for discussion?
Yeah, so here's how we're going to lay it out. First of all, I'll let you know that this can also affect us. So my youngest son is 25th on the wait list for about 4 days of Panther Club. So I totally get where everybody listening, everybody in the room, I get where you are. And the second thing I'll tell you is that we're very open to solutions. The third thing I'll tell you is that the problem, as with many problems that involve schools, municipalities, and the state government, is more complex than it at first appears, which is not to say that there's nothing that we can do. But some of the things that I think we would all like to do may take a bit more time. And the fourth thing that I'll tell you is that some of you will not leave without being conscripted to be part of the solution to this. Carrie's like, I've been there before. Yeah, exactly. So here's how we'll have the conversation tonight. What I'd like to do is anybody first in person and then on the phone, tell us what would be great for us to hear and to have on the record is the ways in which your child being on the wait list or being denied a Panther Club spot is affecting you personally. What I would ask you is that this first moment, do not get into the here's how you could solve the problem. Because the second thing we'll do is then we'll have Mike Newman, our director for Parks and Rec, come on and talk about some of the constraints that we have, regulatory, staffing, et cetera, that will help us understand the box that we're sort of in and what our options might be to get out. And then we'll have a conversation with Mike, both the board and any of you in person or online. And then coming out of that, essentially what we have to do is we need to get a small group of a couple of concerned citizens. I know there's at least one with perfect experience for this. I'm suspecting that's you. To sort of champion, because it involves a coordination effort between the village and the school. And, you know, given all of the things going on at the beginning of the school year in particular, I think it's going to be really tricky for us to make anything happen in a very quick time frame without that. So one thing I can tell you that Peter told me today, just for background, is that he did have a meeting with Dr. Desa, and they did go over the data for the village and for the school district. The village has grown less than 5% in 50 years. The school district actually has slightly lower enrollment today than it did 10 years ago. So I know that there's a number of narratives going on that largely have to do with mostly zoning that existed already that is going to result in some apartments being open, and some have opened, but really none of it has hit the schools yet. And even when it opens, it's going to result in very small changes in the actual number of people who live here. What we have seen, however, and I think that this is very relevant to what we're talking about today, is a lot of changes based on the pandemic and how people are running their lives. And one of the things we've seen is that our demand for parking downtown has shifted. So Alyssa called me, and I was probably 50th on the wait list for a village parking permit also. And they were actually working through the wait list, which is very unusual for us, which means that a lot fewer people are going to the city from 9 to 5 during the day every week. But on the other hand, what we've also had is more people parking to get access to Wheeler Avenue in downtown. And that's sort of shifted that. That's why we've made some changes in Memorial Plaza. And that's really exciting, because that means that our underlying costs go up. What are our personnel costs go up by every year, like 10% or something?
Yeah, it varies, but yeah.
Yeah, so our underlying costs of running the village go up way more than we can increase taxes every single year. And so we have to grow out of it. And the best way for us to grow out of it is sales tax reimbursement. So when people come here and spend money, that is by far the best way, because the other ways all have to do with other kinds of development that somebody is not happy with. So having said that, why don't we take people to, and like I said, don't yet tell us what your solution would be to the problem. Just tell us your experience of the problem with Panther Club. Would anybody like to come up and speak? Do we have a microphone?
No,
Just
just,
access the microphone.
Okay, sorry. So you can, as long as you
bring a chair up?
stand into, or sit or stand in camera range.
Will the camera rotate?
Yeah, the owl will rotate.
yeah, we
It's
can,
got
I'll get
eyes
it.
in the back of it.
If any of you want to speak, it'll pick you
Or
up.
360 degree rotation.
No, I was anyway.
From where we are, or?
Yeah, you could, yes, I'll bring up a chair, but.
And just state your name and address for the record.
Sure. You can sit right here. Thank you.
And like I said, if you have any solution-oriented part of your pre-written remarks, just hold that and you can come back to it later.
So this is, my name is Cameron Cassidy. I'm at 96 Sarles Lane. So this is just about how we've been affected without Panda Club. Sure. I'm looking for my son who's going to third grade. We've had Panda Club previously, so it was already a plan that we've had. We're both working parents. We both work as teachers in the city, so we have long commutes. My speculation is, we have two working parent households, and there's been a big rise in the need for Panda Club. And we didn't have this issue last year. So we've been, leaning on the nicety of neighbors. Pleasantville has that. We've been organizing play dates for other people to pick up my son. We have Sylvan, but my older daughter is walking there, and that's not a good solution. When the weather changes, that's not going to be feasible. The cost for Panda Club for 1 month is cheaper than what I'm finding for 1 week of care that's private. And even still, I'm having a tough time finding any private care. They want at least 20 to 30 hours at $35 an hour, and that's a per week basis. And that's just to get a couple hours after school. Nobody wants to work for 10 hours just for pickup. So at this point, my wife and I have been trying to cut out of work early. I am a teacher and I missed a lot of stuff for my own setup for a classroom today, things after school because I had to rush back. And so my wife and I are just trading off when we have to try to leave early, but we're leaving our own students behind to come back because we haven't found any other available care that's remotely feasible that wouldn't completely cut, what's the point of working if we're paying somebody else the entire amount? And then, it's hard to live in Pleasantville at that point. So, we don't have other solutions. I've tried to call Grip Ninja to see if they have something. UMAC is I'm on a wait list for UMAC as well to see if they can bus. They have no system to bus anywhere. They're trying to work on something as well. So I've exhausted all the local things. And at this point, I'm just asking friends to help out to just watch my 7-year-old son while he is dismissing with his sister that's in 6th grade. And that's where we're at this point.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm good. Yeah, okay. All right, I'll go. Hi, Carrie Roberts, 271 Bedford Road. I'm a 5th grader and a 4th grader. We have relied on Panther Club since my kids were here starting in kindergarten. We are currently relying on a neighbor kid to help us out on the days. I work in the city 2 to 3 days a week. My husband is a contractor and traveling around the area, and so not consistently home. We also have looked into the other local options, but as the guy who was speaking before also said, wait lists, we don't really have a lot of options. So we're having sort of a hodgepodge schedule right now. On the days that I am working from home, I am working from home. I'm on calls. I can't be with them or monitor them too. So I work until 5 or 6 every night same with my husband. So we're kind of in this situation where we're scrapping things together. We rely on Panther Club. One thing that I will add is that the sign up for Panther Club, if you were to get in very early, you don't really know your kid's schedule when it comes to after school sports and after school programs. And I didn't know what days I need to be in the office. So finding that out late, especially when offices are changing their policies now come Labor Day.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what days I needed to be in the office. And Panther Club, I believe, has a policy where you have to sign up for everything. So I think what everybody does is sign up for 5 days a week, and then after the first month, pull back. Mike could probably correct me on that, but so it doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room. The other situation that happened this year was Panther Club registration was down for a couple of weeks. And so we actually didn't find out until the Friday before school started that we don't have childcare. So scrambling to put together childcare 2 days before school started was not the best situation to be put in. So
That's interesting because I don't know. I mean, Mike Newman will speak to this, but I wonder if the pandemic plays a role this way, because my understanding is that the spike in demand for Panther Club happened at the very end, like in the last 2 weeks.
yeah,
So I wonder if that's partly the schedule.
yeah, like a lot of
Yeah.
us, I'm sure, a lot of people on the line and in the room, like didn't find out what our work
Yeah,
was
Yeah.
calling us back towards.
right. And of course,
And I've noticed that the trains are 3 times as busy going into the city now than they were a week ago
right.
or 2 weeks ago.
And of course, the problem on the other end, I mean, there are a number of constraints that we will talk about later, but one of them is staffing, of course, right, which has been very difficult
Yeah.
also in some regards
Yeah,
related to.
and just not knowing, like all the after-school sports and things like that, they don't put out their schedule until very close to the school year. So
Mhm.
we don't know what days we need to be home to take our kids to after-school sports, which start at 5 o'clock. So
Mhm.
we have to organize our schedule around that as well.
Right.
So all of
It's
that
a-
happens very last minute.
It's a compounding dilemma. The reason we're so far back on the list is we were going to register in early August. You can register for individual days, but we heard at a board meeting that actually we're not sure whether we're going to have enough enrollment for Panther Club, and that it was actually the opposite problem up until about the middle of August. I think Michael will tell us in a minute when he gets on. But
Yeah, and then I think at that
something
point,
flip-flop.
registration, like something was wrong with the registration
Right, exactly,
system.
yeah.
And then so everyone sort of like hit it on the day that registration
Yeah.
opened,
So.
which was like the Thursday before school started.
But you're right. I mean, I think this is the issue, is that our life has changed in some unpredictable ways, and we now have to figure out how to be more agile. And you'll hear when we start talking about what's really involved in this, it's a lot of moving parts that have to come together.
And I think being a Panther Club user for so many years, we never ran up against this. So I really wasn't stressing out about it because I was like,
Right.
we've always found room, it's always been fine. And then just to find out,
Yep.
like a couple days
Took you
before.
back, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it was a script. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
But you do have extra time now that you could devote to this problem.
My name is Angela Piscatelli. I'm from 15 Cornell Street.
What's your
I
first
have
name? I'm sorry.
Angela.
Angela.
I have 2 boys, a 2nd grader and a 5th grader. My 2nd grader, he was enrolled in Panther Club. We're a Panther Club family from previous years. But my 5th grader is 9, and we're 2 working parents as well. And with him not being in the Panther Club, I luckily have a very nice neighbor that's willing to help out, but he's not able to walk home alone. There's no one home for him. And so I don't, the neighbor can help us out, but I'm changing my work schedule just so that, I can leave work early so I can come and get him. But being in the Panther Club is something that was just a stable thing, and is for his safety and for, make it easier for us as working parents. So working from home is not an option for us. And so
Right.
I'm hoping that it can be a solution.
So your 2nd grader is enrolled, but your 5th grader
I
isn't.
enrolled him early because, like Carrie was saying, I was trying to
Okay.
find out an alternative. He's a 5th grader. I didn't know if there was other fifth graders that were gonna be going,
I see.
so I
Yeah,
waited.
yeah,
And then by me waiting, the registration, the system closed. And then when I did it, I think I enrolled at like 203, and I'm already 15 on the list. So,
okay. Wow. So that's- yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else in the room? Okay, we can start taking people from Zoom who would like to speak. If you raise your hand, Eric will promote you, or Alyssa will promote you to being a panelist, and then you can, again, give us your experience. Please hold off on problem solving, because we'll give you more information that'll allow us all jointly to speak to discuss, what we can do. Should we start with, is there somebody else?
Mary Breen, I
Oh,
just
Mary
promoted.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Mary, you're on, you just need to.
Hi there. Sorry, I was trying to figure out my settings. I'm sorry I can't be there tonight. I have COVID. So I have two kids, a second grader and a fourth grader, and we've relied. Yep.
Tell us your address.
Sorry. 46 Guyon Street in Pleasantville, and my name is Mary Breen. We have a second grader and a fourth grader, and have relied on Panther Club since my oldest was in kindergarten. My husband and I have both been scrambling to rearrange meetings. I'm a therapist. I have sessions with clients, so I no longer am able to see any clients after 3 p.m., which is incredibly hard. And we've exhausted sort of our other options for other childcare things in the area, like UMAC. I think Cameron spoke about it, and we even looked at Club Fit. And so right now it's been incredibly stressful from 3 p.m. on to try to figure out which one of us can be available for the kids after school. The registration was in July, which was early. And we didn't fully know our plans. We didn't know my husband's remote schedule. So we weren't able to register right away. And then when we tried to register mid-August, when we had a better idea, the site was down. I think this is everyone's experience. And then it was down, and then it was log in at 2 p.m. and give your information, and then we'll call you back. And then I missed the call, and lo and behold, we were only able to get Mondays and Fridays, which is something, but it's not really what we need. So that's just been our experience.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
Who would
we
like
have
to-
Julie Edwards. Julie, if you can hear us, if you want to unmute.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
So I'm in a slightly different position than I think some of my, yep,
All right, we know you, but you still have to tell us your address.
Oh. sorry, Julie Edwards, 75 Choate Lane.
Thank you.
I'm in a slightly different position than some of the neighbors. I signed up at, I think, 9 a.m. on 7/18. And both of my kids, I have a first grader and a fourth grader, were lucky enough to get into Panther Club this year. But just because they're in now doesn't mean that this situation won't arise next year. And so I have a real vested interest in helping my neighbors and not being in this situation myself next year. And I can only imagine the challenges that we would be facing, similar to what Carrie described. I'm in the city 3 days a week. My husband is a contractor. His schedule, work-wise, travel-wise, is very unpredictable. And we live on the other side of the sawmill. And it's not safe for the kids to walk home, nor could my younger daughter walk home. So I just wanted to basically voice support as a current beneficiary, but future potential challenged parent. I'm eager that a solution is found as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking at the owl as if I'm looking at her. Sorry. Anyone else who would like to share their experience?
Jill, if you can hear us, if you want to unmute.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Jill Touchton, 26 Bedford Road. In a similar boat as Julie, my kids are kindergarten and fourth grade, and we are in Panther Club. We have spots for all 5 days, but I'm going to be relying on that, through all of, the next 5, 6, 7 years. So I have vested interest. My husband and I work 2 to 3 days a week in the city, dual income. And that's also always changing. So who knows what it'll be in another year. So have an interest in having Panther Club to support all working families. My older son has been in Panther Club since kindergarten, and loves it. So definitely want to support finding a solution. He's also missing a lot of his buddies who are on the wait list. So would love to see them be able to get in as well at some point. So definitely here to help find solutions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim's up next. Jim, if you want to unmute.
Hi, can you guys hear me? This
Yeah.
is Melissa Sullivan. Sorry, I'm logged in under my my husband's name. 137 Oak Drive. I think we share a similar sentiment as a lot of people who've spoken today, which is we have 2 kids in BRS, a kindergartner and in second grade. And we have a couple of scenarios which have caused us to have some issues with Panther Club. One, we found out, similar to someone who spoke earlier, that our sitter no longer was able to watch our kids after school the Friday before school started. So we were in a bit of a mad scramble to try to figure out childcare. We're both working 2-income families. I commute into the city. And as someone else mentioned, schedule is very fluid as people start coming back post-pandemic and as work start to enforce in-office policies. In addition, we also tried to, log on after some of the issues that we saw with the site to register our children back in August. And again, as many people said, we were right 2:00 on the dot, and we still got a wait list and only got Mondays and Fridays. So despite us trying to plan ahead and potentially utilize Panther Club, we still were unable to kind of get all of the days that we needed. So we're forced to kind of juggle between our schedules, picking up the children, relying on neighbors and the goodwill of others. But it really puts us in a pretty awkward spot right now, not having the access to Panther Club.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else who would like to comment before we hear from Mike Newman? Okay, so Mike, maybe if you can lay out some of the background about what we can legally do, some of the constraints with space, some of the staffing issues, to help us understand how we might move towards any short-term relief and a long-term solution.
Sure. Well, one of the things I would just like to speak to, just so that everyone understands fully what happened with the website. So registration started in July, was slow, as you mentioned. It was a little slower. I was feeling like, oh, maybe with COVID, we won't have as high numbers. Come end of July, early August, it had picked up to the point where we were going to be closed. We closed out Wednesday. And then when Wednesday closed out, that's when we discovered an issue with our system. The system is designed to stop taking registrations at 1:30. That failed for whatever reason. wasn't going to stop people from registering. So we would be still taking registrations if we didn't close the system. So we closed the system hoping that this would be a quick fix. I was told on 2 different occasions that it was fixed and it wasn't, to the point where at one point we had blasted out that system is fixed. You're going to register at 2:00 and everything's good to go. And internally testing it, it had worked. And again, checking it one more time before we're about, getting close to the relaunch, it failed again. So was on the phone trying to get this problem fixed. That's when we shifted and created a waitlist program to start getting people in manually on our end. So we created the waitlist program, launched it at a certain time and date so that everyone at least had knowledge that this is the time and date to get on and log on. And then once that launched, we started working down that wait list based on when you registered onto the wait list. And we worked through that. But just to be clear, Wednesday was already shut. The other 3 days were almost full before the system went down. Not that it makes this situation any better, but we were approaching our limit before we had issues with the site. That being said, as far as looking into and timeframes on different options, talking with the state, I know it was floated around about another location. I personally don't love that idea. And I think there are a few more hurdles with that depending on the location, if we had a different location. But the time frame on that basically would require us to get a second license, a whole new license, essentially a new program. That would take at least 3 months. And that's just getting the approval and the paperwork in and signed off by the state. I don't know how long it would take us to secure a location if we went that route.
Mike, before you go too much further, could you just tell us how many kids are registered for each day and how many are waitlisted for each day? And then how many, and explain, because it's been explained to me a couple times, but I think it'll help also if people understand constraints between the space that we have allocated to us and our ability to fill up to the number in our license.
So currently, Monday through Thursday, we have 130 children a day. Friday, right now, we have 124.
How many are waitlisted Monday through Thursday?
So I don't have that specific broken down, but there are currently, as of this morning, there are 50 people on the wait list. The majority are looking for Monday through Friday.